Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Snook with section 8.4, multiplying binomials, and these are two special cases. We're going to find the square of a binomial, so it will look something like this, x plus 2 squared. We're also going to find the product of a sum and difference, so it would look like this, x plus 2 and x minus 2. So let's go ahead and get started. Here's our first problem. You are making square invitations for a party, and you start with a square piece of paper with 6-inch sides, and then you can reduce both its length and its width by x, and they're showing to us in the picture. What is the area of the invitation? So that's going to be this part here, just the area of that piece. And what we're going to do is we're going to remember that area of a square is the side squared. And the sides for each of these started at 6 inches, but then you reduced that side by x, so you get a 6 minus x. And this is a square, so our other side is also going to be 6 minus x. So my answer for this area is going to be 6 minus x squared. And just like we've done before, we can work this out. Just remember that 6 minus x squared is the same thing as 6 minus x times 6 minus x. And then all you have to do is distribute. So 36 minus 6x minus 6x plus x squared. And then that's going to give me, I'm going to put this in standard form to put the x squared first. So I have x squared minus 12x plus 36. And then if I knew what the value of x was, we could actually calculate the area of the square. All right, so let's do some example problems where we square a binomial. And just as I did a moment ago, remember that this is equal to x plus 8 times x plus 8. And you can use FOIL, you can use distribution, or you can even use the box method. Either way works, it's up to you. And when you do this, you're going to get x squared plus 8x plus 8x plus 64. And then notice those two 8x terms in the middle, those can combine. So you get x squared plus 16x plus 64. And that one's done. Now let's do one where we have a minus in there. So this is going to be n minus 7 squared. N minus 7 times n minus 7. And I'm going to go ahead and FOIL. So I'm going to do my first n squared times my outer minus 7n times my inner minus 7n, and then my last. And again, right there in the middle, I've got two terms I can combine. So that's going to give me n squared minus 14n plus 49. Now let's do one that's a little bit more complicated, 2x plus 9, and we're going to square that. 2x plus 9 times 2x plus 9. So when I do my first terms, 2x times 2x, remember it's a 2 times 2 and an x times x, so I'm going to get 4x squared. 2x times 9 is 18x. 9 times 2x is another 18x. And then 9 times 9 is 81. And I'm going to combine my like terms in the middle, and I get 4x squared plus 36x plus 81. So I hope you've noticed a pattern here, because there is a pattern. And if you learn this pattern, you can actually just write down your answer without having to actually distribute. Here's our pattern. If you are doing a plus b and you square that, what you're going to get is the first term squared. You get the last term squared. So you have your a squared and your b squared. Now that term in the middle, you're going to take the a and the b, multiply them together, and then double that. That gives you a term in the middle. So if you look over here at x plus 4 squared, first term squared, there's your x squared. Last term, square that, so 4 squared is 16. Now take the x and the 4, multiply them together, so I get 4x, and then double that, I get 8x. So x squared plus 8x plus 16. The same thing works with a minus. The only difference is you're going to have a minus here in the middle. So you're going to take your first term, square that. You're going to take your last term, square that. And then in the middle, take your a and b, multiply them together, double that, and your answer should be a negative, because remember that b is negative in there. So when I do it over here, I square my first term, I get x squared. Square my last term, a negative 3 squared is going to be a positive 9, so that's this one. And then take your middle term, your negative 3 times your x, and then double that to get the middle term, I get negative 6x. So now my answer is x squared minus 6x plus 9. So you have your option. You can actually work it out, or you can use the pattern. So now let's apply a square of a binomial. So we have an outdoor patio that's surrounded by a brick walkway. We want to find the area of that walkway. And so what I'm going to do is, because my patio is a square and my walkway is making a border around it, which makes a bigger shape that's also a square, I'm going to take the area of our outside big square, which is x plus 6, because I have a 3 here and a 3 here, and then the length across is x, length across the patio. It's not letting me write. Here we go. So then the length of the side of the big square is x plus 6. And I know that the area of a square is the side squared, so I'm just going to square that x plus 6. So I get an x plus 6 squared. And then because I only want that brick walkway, I'm going to subtract out the patio. And the patio is just x on the side. So I'm going to subtract out x squared. Okay, so let's use the pattern to square our x plus 6. First term, square that. Last term, square that. My middle term is going to be the 6 and the x. So 6 times x, I'm going to double that, so I get 12x. So that's the area of the outside square. Subtract the patio part, so that what's going to be left is just the walkway. X squared minus x squared, those drop out, so my answer is going to be 12x plus 36. Now what happens if that brick walkway, instead of being 3 foot wide, is 4 foot wide? So now my my outer square, I'm going to draw this. So here's the outer square, and then here's our inner square. This is still x, and this is still x, but now I've got 4 foot in here, 4 foot in there, so that my length across is going to be x plus 8. And the same thing going up and down. I have 4 foot added onto the top and bottom. So that's going to be x plus 8. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to square that x plus 8. Did I say 8? Yeah, 8. X plus 8, square that. And then I'm going to subtract out the patio, which is x squared. So again, use the pattern to square this. It's so much faster. Square the first term, x squared. Square the last term, plus 64. The middle term is going to be 8x times 2, or 16x. Subtract the x squareds, those drop out. I'm left with 16x plus 64. That's the area of this one. All right, so that's our first part. Our second part is when we find the product of a difference. So difference means you're subtracting. So we're going to do a product of a sum and a difference. So x cubed plus 8, that's a sum. X cubed minus 8 is the difference. So in each of these problems, your first term is going to be the same, your last term is going to be the same, and the only difference is one is a sum, so you have a plus, one is a difference, so you have a minus. Go ahead and distribute and see what happens. So I'm going to distribute my first term, x cubed. So x cubed times x cubed, add your exponents, I get x to the 6th. X cubed times a negative 8 is negative 8x cubed. And then 8 times a positive x cubed is plus 8x cubed. And then a negative 8 times a positive 8 is a negative 64. Look what happens in the middle. I have a negative 8x cubed and a positive 8x cubed. Those go away. And I'm left with x to the 6th minus 64. Let's do another one. We're going to do x plus 9 times x minus 9. Let's do the FOIL. So first is x squared, outer minus 9x, inner plus 9x, last minus 81. Those terms in the middle, they drop out again. So I'm left with x squared minus 81. Let's do another one, and this time we're putting the constant in front. We have 6 plus m squared times 6 minus m squared. And let's do box for this one. So 6m squared and 6m minus m squared. Just because you can do box, it works. So 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times negative m squared is negative 6m squared. 6 times positive m squared is 6m squared. And then a negative m squared times a positive m squared is a negative m to the 4th. I'm going to add up on my diagonals, so I'm going to get 36. Here's my like terms. I have negative 6m squared, positive 6m squared. That drops out, minus m to the 4th. So there's my answers. I hope you saw a pattern there as well. This one's an easier pattern. All you do is you square your first term, and then you square the last term and put a minus in the middle. So when I have a plus b times a minus b, a squared, that's my first term squared. B squared, that's my second term squared. And you put a minus in the middle. Every time, all the time. So if I'm doing x plus 2 times x minus 2, square my first term, I have x squared. Square my last term, I have a 4, and put a minus in the middle. I've got x minus 4 squared. All right, so that's it for today's lesson. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you at school.